Welcome, fellow synthesizer sickos. In this live stream, we're going to be making some melodic techno. I'm going to show you how I do it with a vintage synthesizer. Today, I'm going to be using the Prophet 600 from 1982, but you could use a hardware synthesizer, software synthesizer. It doesn't really matter. I picked this synth because it is bright, so not every vintage synthesizer can get very bright, and for this type of music, you want something that has that range in it. It's also got two oscillators, which I think is important for anything that's going to be kind of melodic. Maybe not. I mean, there's different types of music. You might not necessarily need that, but I think in general, this is a very good sort of like default synth. This one is Glee modified. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't really matter. It's just a sort of an update to the firmware of the original hardware. We're also going to be using Filterverse. My affiliate link is in the description. I appreciate if you buy Filterverse, you go through them. It's wonderful if you use that link. But tonight we're going to make some melodic techno, kind of like what you just heard. But I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of everything that I've got so far, and we're going to build it from scratch here. So I'm going to just delete all of that. And so we're going to just start with, we've got some drums and we've got some, you know, just basic transitions here. I'm not going to go through all of the how to produce drums and stuff. Most of these drums are from the Ghost Syndicate Hypnosis pack, I want to say, but I also used some 90s sample CDs, which are always a fun place to get those sorts of like different sorts of sounds. Let's check out how this synth can sound on its own. So that's the raw sound without the effects I had on it before. So it's basically a real simple plucky type thing. And I'm using the square waves here, and the pulse width is up. So the first thing, we could go a few different ways. We could do a pad to start a track off. I think that might be the way I want to do it today. Usually I start with the bass line, but sometimes it can be fun to start with the pad because that'll let me know where I'm going as far as the song. So if that's the case, I'm going to bring the cutoff down, increase the attack on both of the, this is the filter envelope, so attack, decay, sustain, release, and this is the amplifier envelope. What I'm going to do is kind of like a different sort of sound than you might hear on some of my other streams, because this is a more modern genre. Doing a slow attack, instant decay sort of sound is cool for this type of sound. Increase the envelope amount. Like how it jumps out at you real quick, and that's a, and then it drops down there. So what we can do too is sort of mirror that a little bit here and see. Really, that's probably a little too much. Something like that is pretty cool, which I'm excited to bust into this. So we could pick a chord. What notes am I looking for? Yeah, there we go. So that's kind of like a rough idea for what we're doing. And what I'm going to do is actually just kind of grab a loop here. I'll just split this right here. And so what I'm going to do too is actually bring the sustain down even further and increase the decay a lot. How's it going, Todd? Welcome to the stream. See how it fades out there? Okay, so another thing is I should use the sawtooth waves here. Or I want to use the sawtooth waves. You could use whatever waves you want. Kind of give it that brassy type of a thing. Different kind of sound than I usually do. I think it sounds pretty cool. We could, of course, use one square wave here and increase the pulse width to kind of get a narrower pulse layered sound. It's a little extreme, so I'm actually going to kick on this synthesizer, which is not unique to this synth, but you didn't see this on all of the synths from 1982. You can actually use multiple wave shapes at the same time. So using that narrow pulse shape, I think, gives it a little bit more brightness, a little bit more bite. So that's a good tip there, is to layer a narrower pulse on top of a sawtooth wave. Is 6, welcome to the stream. CS20, really fun mono synth. Okay, so let's get a little loop of that going. Oh yeah, let's see how well I can play under pressure. Good enough. That'll work for me. So I'm going to just grab that and create a little loop of that, right? That's probably all we need right now. Now, the first thing, it's a little loud, or what we could do is we could just duplicate this real quick. Here we are. And we'll take this one out here. Oh, I don't know what I did there. There we are. And we'll call this brass pad. And we'll open up Filterverse and we'll give it some vibe. We don't need the drums right now for a split second here. Or the transitional effects, just the synth. Now, if we wanted to add some width to this, there's a couple of ways we could do it. So I've got Filterverse here. I'll try to kind of position it so it's nice and aesthetic on the screen. You don't have too much. Let's see here. More ducking. Yeah, so we could definitely add ducking. Can Filterverse do resonant ducking? Yeah, for sure. So why don't we actually show how to do that? So what I'm going to do is real quick send. I've already got a bus here called sidechain, and I deliberately do that because it's actually routed already to the sidechain compression of these tracks. But we can actually send it specifically to the brass pad, and I'm going to just make sure that that's going into inputs 3 and 4. So we're already getting a little complicated, but the idea is we're going to send the kick drum not to inputs 1 and 2, because then it would be audible, but inputs 3 and 4, so then we can use that as a source to trigger modulation. So I'm going to use my favorite filter for this type of thing in Filterverse, which is bread and butter. It's kind of mogy sounding. I'm going to bring it down real low like this. Oh, I'm going to increase the poles. I'm going to use 2 poles and probably not too much resonance at first. And I'm going to really filter it down. That way, whatever we do with Filterverse is going to dramatically affect the sound. So, the first thing I'm going to do is just pull up an envelope follower here, and I'm going to go to sidechain left and right, and then modulate the filter with this. And I need to unmute the drums here. And but I guess what we could do is mute everything we don't really need to hear. There we go. So you can see right now this little line, it's moving. But that's kind of the opposite of what we want. I mean, of course we could, if we want this type of sound, we're basically triggering it as a gate, right? But we could go the other way. So if I open it up and then filter down, This is more of that sidechain. And we could make it more resonant by increasing the resonance, right? And if that's not enough for us, we could always just double that up. And, you know, same thing, just double modulate this. I want to slow that down a little bit on both of these. Just so it grooves a little better, right? And then let's add, let's modulate the volume as well. So this is just basic sidechain compression here. So whenever the kick drum hits, you can see right here that it's pulling it down. There we go. That's pretty good. Is that about what you were thinking, Dub? We'll turn on a flanger. I set it to 12, and we're going to use a sequencer here. I always turn the rate off and bring it down to somewhere around 0.5 hertz. That seems to be a good number. We're going to modulate both sides independently by hitting this button here and increasing this. So, and what we've done is we've created like a chorus effect to help make the sound a lot wider. So if you're listening in headphones, you should be able to hear that. There we go. The big thing we need is some reverb on this sound. So I've already got what I've got set up here, Filterverse, which is just a Filterverse with the space algorithm picked. And so we can just route the brass pad to that. So I'm just going to go select that Filterverse. And then we can just control how much of that we want. Oh, why am I not hearing that? Let's see here. I freeze these now? Ah, I see why. There we are. That's probably too much, right? So we can just dial that back down. There we are. All right, so I can dial that resonance back a bit if we want. We'd also change the filter type. Well, I kind of like this. Just because it's got maybe a little bit more... I get a little emotion from that. I use an RME interface as well, but I've never used a PCR card. That sounds awesome. I kind of like it with this little darker sound to it. If we wanted to, we could increase this panning. We could use another sequencer, similar sort of rate, but using a different rate, right? So it's a little different. Could do it a little faster. So we kind of get it at borderline audio rate territory. Absurd TV, welcome. Absurd TV. So that's a pretty good basis for a kind of a different pad sound than we normally do. An eighth ARP on top of that. Yeah, so that's probably what we could do, something like that. So let's jump back to the synth. So whenever I think arpeggio type thing, I need that dexterity of action. Something like that, you know, a little bit more, you could play it a little faster. So again, I just killed the attack on these. Just made myself a little pluck sound, little fun pluck. pretty quick decay can give you a really nice sort of vibe. So let's see what kind of vibe we can do over that. Let's increase the... You can do something fast like that. I don't know if I want to go that way. I think what I'm going to do actually is... I'll start with a bright sound. And in this case, let's go ahead and move over and do some pulse width modulations. I'm going to bring these to 0, or the middle here. You can hear it's pretty much a square wave, right? And I'm going to use the LFO mod to modulate pulse width A and B. And I'm going to just increase that. And if you increase it by about 50%, that's about the most you can do before you start crossing into 0. There we go. So actually, I guess about 6 is where you start to lose it. So. So this is a very bright, very harsh sound. The Prophet 600 excels at this type of thing. But that's okay, because we're going to turn this in this. We need it to be a little jangly and harsh to start with. We could increase some resonance and get some real harshness. That's incredibly jangly and harsh, but that'll make a really nice little top line type thing over the top. So let's see what we can get here. I'll turn it down just for the sake of everybody's ears. So let's go ahead and record something like that. That's perfect. You know, it's this really jangly, toppy type thing. I like that last one. I was almost there on the take before. And so same thing. We're just going to duplicate this and take it out of recording. We'll call this jangly pane top thing. There we go. Now, that's going to be perfect to use Filterverse for. So this isn't going to be an ARP. It's going to be more of like a sequencer type thing. You guys have seen me do this type of jig before, so we'll use bread and butter of it. I like using less poles for this type of thing. In general, you know, you have a vintage analog synth. I want to crank the resonance, and if it's a four-pole filter, that's fine. There's going to be some saturation in there. It's going to have some spread to it. It's going to have some smoothness to it from the sound of that filter. Working in the can everybody hear me fine? Okay, good. Glad to hear. I don't think I've dropped any frames on my end, but you guys let me know if I did. Working with anything digital, I have a tendency to sort of at least start with gentler pulls and less resonance and then add in. Filterverse sounds really good. It's got a wonderful resonant characteristic, which you can't say for a lot of digital filters. But having said that, I still kind of start with fewer pulls, so that just means like a gentler sort of slope, because I'm trying to use this more to nudge the sound rhythmically as opposed to... I don't know. There's other things you could do with the sound. I don't know what. Ran out of metaphors there. So we're going to pull up a sequencer and pick a pattern here. And here's a little tip too. There's all of these crazy patterns in Filterverse, right? And we could try a couple. So first thing, I'm going to make it just all positive. 67 is not a bad lucky guess sort of thing, but sometimes... like it tight. So with the shape parameter, if we bring it down to C or D0, we get like a more linear attack to the sequencer. And then we can tighten that up by changing the shape, you can see. So I really liked, what was it, pattern? This pattern, but I'm just going to tighten it up to D100. That's already doing a lot. We could increase the amount to the volume as well. Bring it down even further so we don't get those super high frequencies. We don't really need them. So again, this is why I wanted to start with something really kind of almost off-puttingly bright. Because once we start chopping it down with Filterverse, oh, you know that delay's coming, sir. You know. So tempong, you know, Filterverse is just so easy to use. So I'm going to bring it back to like 40%. Where we have 18th notes, or 8th notes. Increase the feedback. Make it D. There we go. And let's move it to tempong, actually. That'll be even better. Yeah, that's pretty good. We can even increase it further. We could add a sequencer here. Same idea. Bring it down and increase the pan a bit, you know? Okay, so it occurs to me I might need to record a little bit more, and I'll explain why in a second here. So we're going to have kind of two parts to this song, kind of a section that's more based on those chords and a section that's more based on the root notes. So I'm going to just go ahead and record myself a little riff here. So we just have that, and we can put that in our back pocket, you know, so we could bring that in later. Twin Cities, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? That way we can kind of go back and forth, right? So we got a pad, we got a jangly top thing. I think it's time for everybody's favorite, which is going to be bass. So I'm going to dial the resonance out This filter does lose some bass with the resonance. I'm going to bring in sawtooth waves. I do have keyboard tracking on for the sounds before. I'm going to turn it off. But we need to go down lower. There we go. We have ourselves a little pluck. You want to go PWM? We could do that. So we could do kind of like a blend of where we want to be. I'm going to use one pulse width, and I want one triangle wave, maybe even the sawtooth triangle. Okay, so I'm using, on the first oscillator, just pulse width. But because it gets so thin, I don't want it to lose the low end. So on the other oscillator, I've got both the sawtooth and the triangle wave, which is very thick, very good. On this synth, I think maybe with Glee mod, we could do something to route the LFO to just one of the two oscillators, but I think on the basic version, we can't. So with that being said, I would actually do this with the square wave without pulse width modulation, but I don't think we could do that. So this is a good compromise. Cutoff down. How's this sounding so far, guys? This synth can get so aggressive with the resonance. Yeah, really. M.Ambient, welcome. How are you doing? So what I'm going to do is loop the second section with the little jangly top thing, get rid of this pad here. So it's just kind of got like a vibe, so. Oof, I was off on the timing there. Oh, Bill leave. Ooh, that's a good point. I'm glad you said that, Dub. So, I'm actually going to dial the resonance back a little bit, but open it up so that we can use Filterverse to create a build. There we go. So we got ourselves a little take here. See how this sounds. Can I get a scum cheers in the chat? The Prophet 600 sounds very, very good, very bright, which is perfect for this type of genre because it can almost like compete with something like Serum in terms of brightness, which you almost never get from something, thank you guys so much, from something like a analog synthesizer from this era. However, it does have a couple of things with the envelopes and things that still, when I bust the synth out, people who are familiar with this channel, familiar with the lore, know I'm conflicted with this particular synth. I think it's perfect for what we're doing tonight, but it's not perfect for me all the time. I appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much. So now we're going to do exactly what Dubs said. So I'm going to move our other kind of thing out of the way here for now. Oh, actually, you know what? I need to record a version of that, but for when we get to the chorus. So. Okay, so. Yeah, that should work. That was a good one right there at the end. So we've kind of got two versions. And so now we can really kind of turn this into a build, right? We can really break this bad boy into pieces. There we go. Okay. And same idea. I keep saying same idea. I need to get out of that habit. But what we'll do is we'll call this PWM bass. And we'll move this into the bass folder. I have a more aggressive ducking going on there. It sounds so ballsy. So what we're going to do is open, you guessed it, Filterverse again. Here we go. Now, we're going to do a couple of things. First, same sort of idea. I'm going to use the Swiss Army knife and not the bread and butter because I don't want to lose any low end, and we're not going to with this. But we can use more aggressive poles. You know what? Let's go evil. All right, so Evil is the new filter, and I believe Asaf took inspiration from, he has a, what is it, the Oscar, that additive mono synth, British vintage synthesizer, and I think you've got a little of that flavor in here. So you can hear immediately just by doing a little modulation there just with my mouse, we're getting some cool sounds, but we'll start by adding a sequencer and picking a new pattern and getting something that will hopefully sound pretty good. We'll see what we get. And as we increase the poles, if I increase the drive, and then we change the poles, we also get different types of distortion. Ooh, howl sounds good for this. Fat is awesome for bass lines, maybe almost too fat. I really like howl. Ooh, that's almost got like, it's giving polyvox, right? We could get pretty aggressive, acidy type stuff in here. So the real trick to this is opening another sequencer. And I mean, this is the brilliance of Filterverse, is we have we could have 8 sequencers. We could also modulate things with randomness, pitch detection. It's a synthesizer now. You could use an oscillator and say, for instance, create filter FM. So I mean, just to show you real quick. If we want to get almost like dubsteppy. I don't want to do that right now. I just kind of wanted to show you how flexible this is. I do have another 2 videos coming out on the Polyverse music channel going over, and I do cover Filter FM, I think on the 3rd video. So now what I'm going to do is just use the basic pattern here, but bring the steps all the way down to 1 and bring it up. And then I think if I change the shape here, will that give me what I'm looking for? There we go. So you can see we can make ourselves a kind of a sawtooth wave. We could go fully linear, right around C, but we could make it a little bit where it rises at the end, right? Which is kind of fun, like kind of a little exponential, maybe not too much. And then if I flip this upside down, there we go. So now we have sort of a, and then we can, yeah, like that. So now we have a sawtooth wave, and we can actually kind of control it like this, like how, in this case, I think I'm going to leave it kind of flat. So we have just a sawtooth wave going up, but then we need to just slow it way down to like 16 or something. Okay, and I'm going to have to, this is our halfway point. So that means, what is this? This is where I want to be. So I want to move everything over here. I'm going to just put a little marker, or I know what I'll do. I'll just bring this marker right here. And then I'm going to just select everything real quick and then bring everybody over here. And the reason is because Filterverse is tracking what's going on. And so if I, again, go in here, you'll see now, if I did this correctly, when I press play, this little white dot here that's telling us where we're at will start right down here. I didn't do it right. What do I need to do? Yeah, I do want to bring it down to like 16. So I'm a little off here. Maybe I need to be one kind of thingy over. Something like this. There we go. So I got it. I got it in the hole. So reverse hybrid synth masterclass. I don't think I ever would have taken this approach to sound design with a digital filter in the box, but it sounds really good and groovy. Yeah, and this is kind of coming from my master plan of wanting to get a sort of in the box live looping thing going. And what that requires is, like, see, here's the problem with electronic music is it's so perfect because of sequencers. So if you've, since the beginning, there's been sequencers, and sequencers are more or less perfect. Of course, Blue Monday sequencers a little out of time, and that's part of the flavor of that song. Same thing with like Tainted Love by Soft Cell. You can kind of hear by the end of the song, things are not in sync perfectly anymore. But generally speaking, everything's so perfect. And the problem with that is that I'm a particularly bad keyboard player, but even if you're really good, you will not be sequencer perfect. And then you just always sound sloppy when you're playing. So using tricks like this, using to get the rhythmic feeling into the track, but still being able to, you know, play it live. That to me is really exciting to be able to use this. And if I want to just, you know, of course we've recorded something, but if I just turn on this and, you know, I can. And a lot of times what I will do, I think this bass line will work, but a lot of times what I'll do is I will actually record something, figure out my settings with Filterverse, and then go back, and now that I've got a sound, play something else that kind of takes me in there. So anyways, what I want to do is now modulate this. So that we're getting that. Maybe I'm doing this backwards? Do I need to do it like this and just modulate it negatively? No. Oh, I see. I need to just increase the cutoff, actually. It's probably a little much. What we could do is we could also modulate the resonance. Whoa. There we go. So the resonance increases. Sorry about everybody's eardrums there. You can hear, actually, you could hear, I didn't mean to do it, but you could see that as this thing pushes into self-resonance, it actually sounds very similar to an analog filter, especially the Evil model. And we can add some damage. Just a little goes a long way. I'm going to go ahead and kind of do the flange trick again. Ooh. Oh, I didn't mean to modulate that. There we go. Yes, analog rich. So in this case, we're actually hearing, whoa, we're actually hearing the distortion from the drive right here. And it can go pretty extreme. Actually don't want to go that extreme. I think it's okay just a little bit here. And I actually like a little delay. We'll dampen it a bit. There we go. We can make it pluck a little more. So that's a pretty good riff. And then when we get to the chorus, right? we're gonna have some vibe over there too. So I'm gonna go ahead and open these up a little bit here. I think I have some of these. Can I bring these down? Yeah. We can unmute some of this here. And create ourselves a nice little loop here. Get rid of this. And here we are. I can split you two. There we are. Then drag this over. I'm using Reaper. I love Reaper because it's $60 and it's extremely flexible, very stable DAW, but you guys could use whatever you want. One of the VCA chips in my Prophet 600 is a clone, and it shows. One of the voices on this synth, it's like weird. The problem seems to have gone away, but if we use Filter FM and Resonance, one of the voices you can hear a little difference on. Oh, and it howls a little more under resonance, so no need to turn up the damage on my filter. Oh, interesting. It howls a little more. Yes, I have I have one that howls a little bit more too. Twisted City says, also, does that VST you're using do spectral synthesis? I don't think so. Iris 2 is probably the best spectral synth I can remember. I've been meaning to do a stream on Iris 2, even though you can't buy it anymore. But I think that's actually kind of fun. So anyways, we kind of have we have 2 parts now, which is good. Daddy loves 2 parts. There we go. Now, a big part of the sound that I'm hearing a lot more in modern sort of melodic techno is more of like a big type sound. I use my mouth for lack of a better way of doing it. So I'm going to turn pulse width off and just use 2 square waves. How's it going, Chris? So I want 2 really big, beefy square waves. Now on this synth, even the square is not like truly square. The pulse width right down the middle. Yeah, we should definitely get a big snare. Now, we could use sync, but I think I'm not going to. And I'm going to use some detune here to get a little width. I always say start getting your amplifier right and everything kind of takes care of itself. The shape of your amplifier, the attack, decay, sustain, release. Too many people jump straight over to the filter and kind of get that going. And that's cool. Sometimes, for pads and stuff, filter kind of matters more because you tend to get better results with pads with having the sustain pretty high, I think. But for this type of sound, I like getting the sustain kind of low and having a slow decay. Sounds good. Let's kick it into unison mode. So this is a really big part of this sound, right? Because it's that just like massiveness. Let's close the filter and kind of match the decay here. So we're going to let's just start by like having about the same settings and see how it sounds. Almost as if we had one envelope. Yeah, I want it to slow down the filter. So this is like an advantage of this synth over something like the JX3P. You've only got one filter on that. I'm sorry, one envelope on that synth. You can use the gate, so you could just have basically like an on-off full sustain, which would probably work for this, but you wouldn't have any release on it, and you couldn't set separate decay amounts. So I want a slower decay on the filter envelope. And we're going to increase the resonance. I mean, how ballsy is that? Probably not as much amp release. Sounds really good. It's hard to get that right. I'm constantly fighting these envelopes on this synth. By the way, I mean, this is not a bad sort of lead type sound, but in this case, using this low end, just incredibly thick sound. And so what we could do now is record in a little vibe here. Down a bit. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to high pass this because it's just got way too much low end. Pretty good right there. So I'm going to duplicate that, take it out of record. We'll call this Big Chunga. Okay. And we'll drag this into the bass folder too. And like my boy Dubstation motherfucking Zero was saying, we're going to high pass this. So we can morph between, let me move this to the center here. You can actually morph between so many different types of filters in Filterverse. But high pass is perfect for this. Two poles, nice and gentle. I still want to kind of have that low end presence, but we just don't need all of the low end. And I'm actually going to turn on a second one and go over here to band reject and try to take out like maybe something in the 400 range. This is actually pretty cool. We can pull the mix of that down. if we want. Maybe. We could also go to low pass and just bring some of the high end out. Yeah, maybe not quite as much high end, right? So maybe like 5K or so. And let's just add in a little chorus action just so it's a little wider. Same thing as last time. Sequencer. I always say I use Filterverse very simply. I try not to overcomplicate it. A lot of the presets are very complicated. They're like almost like the wave station in the sense you press like one key and it plays a song for you because it's doing so much. I use it as a like utilitarian, like a knife. Oh, it sounds good. And I'm gonna just send this big old bad boy to the filter verb. Bring it, start with like -12. See how that sounds. Yeah, that's pretty good. A little bit less low end. Oh, and I'm glad it took a second here to actually think about it. We need to record in something for the chorus as well. So let's just go ahead and record that. Right, is that what's happening with the bass line? I've begun the process of taxing my computer. So why don't we just freeze some of the stuff that we don't need real quick. So I'm gonna just freeze these super quick. Yeah. I'm back. We just had to freeze those tracks. So you didn't miss anything. Thank you for the cheers, Synth Sonic. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and record in. Little bit there, but that's okay. We'll just bring this in. What the fuck is this? Cut this down. Just like that. There we are. So now we have ourselves kind of like a riff for the whole thing. For trip, well, we'll increase the, there we are. Room and Hippie, welcome to the stream. How's it going? So we could take this further. I think we need some dubby stabs. I think that's the next step in this process. Something that we can use. So turning unison off. That's like just a crazy sound. So let's back to the sawtooth waves. I love a good dry. Actually, the Pathfinder I'm drinking tonight is an awesome non-alcoholic spirit. It's like a bitters. It kind of tastes like an Amaro. And you guys know I drink the shit out of this because it tastes so good. And, you know, I don't always want to get fucked up. Sometimes I want to get really fucked up, but sometimes I just want to be kind of like, you know, chilling. So tonight, having a little Pathfinder, a little Heineken, a little here, a little there. It's pretty good. Have a good night, hippie. So we're going to play ourselves a little chord here. So I'm playing root note, third, fifth, seventh, and second, or ninth. So it's a ninth chord, right? Real jazzy type thing. And then what we could do is change it up, you know, bring in that low note down there. So this I'm going to use only during, I think, the verse, for lack of a better phrase of it, just because I think that's kind of the vibe. I want to get something in there. How's it going, Mighty? I don't know what kind of vibe I want to go for. All right, I'm going to increase the decay quite a bit, actually. I know that's super simple, but that's good. I love Campari. Yeah, it's Filterverse is good for creating stuff a little differently. I've been enjoying my time using it to create music in a different way, because I'm like everybody else. I used to just either sequence stuff out or record it in and then, you know, adjust everything you know, later. And I really like kind of not always being locked into that workflow. So to create some more like dubby sounds, we're going to use a lot of filter resonance and delay to get there. So we'll call this stab. So of course it's Filterverse again. But what I want to do is use another sequencer. We'll get a different kind of pattern going. And I want to use like kind of a slower type of vibe, so I can just slow the rate down and see what we get. Get something a little more techy. We might not get the best results with the squares here, but we can change the shape. And then use the sequencer just to modulate that further. Use a bandpass filter. Pretty cool. Let's bring this rate down, and we can adjust the phase of this too. So if we want to kind of start at the bottom, build up, and then build down, so we kind of have some movement. because I'm negatively modulating, I actually want to start at the top and go down to get the brightness at the beginning. I'm sorry, at the middle. Set some non-reset LFO to filter. Yeah, so what we could do is just create another one of these guys, turn the tempo sync off, and then just pick a rate kind of in the middle here, a nice slow one. So we're going to double modulate this with a little of sequence 2. So we got one that's kind of following the track and then one that's just doing its own thing. And that's kind of perfect for getting variance. So we have a little bit of control and a little bit of chaos. Bring it down just slightly. I think I like it in this territory. Oh, it's cool. It's a totally different type of sound than I would normally go for. And of course, we could add some pans. So we'll use another sequencer. And again, just kind of pick a rate nice and slow and control the pan here. Quite a bit this time. We haven't added delay or reverb yet. Sounding good. Let's add some Filterverse to it. We could do that too. So on the stab, instead of routing it to the same reverb, we could just open another instance. And why don't we maybe we'll use coils. Yeah, we'll use coils. So this is more like a spring reverb type sound. I'm going to turn off the drums and stuff real quick here. It's a little hard to maybe pick this out. So it's got a very warm, cool sound. I'm going to increase the resonance even further. Right? Very cool. Now, we have some choices here, and up to this point, I've just been running everything serial. So, filter 1 into 2 into 3. But there could be an argument for only, like, having the dry sound. Let's see. We could have it go into the delay and reverb separately, so we can hear how that sounds. We could have now we kind of have. We can actually hear some of the dry sound through coils, right? So, like, we use just coils on the dry sound. Which is pretty cool. I don't think it's what I want to do. I think I liked it actually just into coils with like around, like with everything in there. It's a really cool kind of space, retro, vintagey, warm type sound. It might even let us kind of push it up a little higher, because that sounds just so cool. Analog Rich, I'm using a computer I built. It's got a pretty beefy CPU, but it's not out of control, I would say. So let's go ahead and kick this back on now. I love this, the warmth of coils on its own, but in the mix, I'm immediately aware of it's just not gonna work. So let's just go with a big ol' reverb. So I actually am using dotted timing here, because if it's here in the middle, that's like standard, and then that's your dotted timing, or you could go triplet with it. We hear how that sounds. But dotted's probably right. So that's a very cool little riff we have in here. I think we need a lead. We haven't had like a good, badass fucking lead in a while. So resonance off, cutoff all the way open for now. Sustain all the way up. Release, okay, you know, we'll see what we want to do with it. Sawtooth, wide open. We're going to just put it into unison mode. Where's my unison mode, baby? Have a good night, Kieran. Are you thinking a little faster on the delay? We can try that. So if we just go over here and we make it eighth note dotted. Oh, that's good. I'm going to turn the reverb off here and just route it to Filterverse just for CPU sake. And not too much either. Maybe it's just like negative something. I don't know. So yeah, that bongos is from a 0G ethnic sample CD from the 90s. Even with the tuning really tight, you kind of get a little, it's pretty detuned, so. Do I have a control over that over here? I think I do. Where is it? Press 2 tape plus 8 detune. Here we go. So tightening up the unison detune, this is one of those features on Glee that you're not going to have with a regular Prophet 600. I've been telling people to buy this synth for a long time now, probably about the last 9 months or so, and they've been selling, and now if you want to get a legally one of these guys, it's about $1,650. I looked today on Reverb. They were going for $1,150. So this is one of many signs I've noticed in the last couple of months, not that long, that I think the synth market, I don't want to say it's going to like take off. I don't want to make any big grand promises, but I do think there's some signs that, you know, things are shifting back into the direction of being a little bit like, let me say it this way. If you were going to spend some money on a used synth, especially a vintage synth, now might be the time before the prices go back up. Certain synths are kind of already there. I don't know if the Prophet 600s will get back up to $2,000 in the near future. But I guess to a certain extent, I'm saying like, if you snoozed, you losed, because these things were going for a lot cheaper. Yeah, the Prophet 08, wonderful synthesizer, and yes, very much a successor. Digitally controlled oscillators instead of analog or fully analog oscillators, but it's so great. And with like the slop function, it doesn't really matter. So now I want to focus on the chorus and come up with some riffs over here. So let me see. So we'll just tune this up. Yeah, something like that I think will work. So like, it sounds really beefy on the low end. We'll cut that out. But what I'm doing is just trying to create the biggest super saw trance nasty lead. And because we're using a real vintage analog synth, this is going to have a balls and a weight and a presence to it. I'm not saying you can't do it with a digital synthesizer like Serum, because plenty of people do. But just listen to this and then ask yourself, how many steps would it take to get Serum to sound exactly like this? I'm not trying to hate on the software. There's a lot of great software out there, and I use it all the time. So not saying it like that. But let's go ahead and try it out. was it. Right there at the end. Perfect. That's our little riff. And here we go. I mean, it sounds amazing. Zero effects, right? Pretty incredible. And, you know, I don't want to be super saw lead. I don't want to be some sort of like, obviously I am the most hashtag blessed person in the world to have all of these incredible instruments here to play with. And I remember what it was like being a broke punk rock musician, saving up. Vulture Mom can tell you, I mean, I remember working construction in the Florida heat for a full summer just to buy, I think it was like my first guitar amplifier. I had like a little practice amp, but like a real Veda 2, which by the way was created by Marcus Ryle, the same guy who made the Oberheim OBX8 and since like the Oberheim Matrix 12 expander, stuff like that. So, but I know what it was like to not have any money, and there is zero reason to have to like spend this much money on synths. This is a luxury right here. I have it, so it's great to use, and it's a lot of fun, the hands-on element of it. But man, Cherry Audio, GeForce, they're making incredible plugins nowadays. And then I have videos on Disco DSP's OBXD, free, really good analog synth emulation to make all of the same types of sounds we're doing here. In fact, that's going to be it's going to get you there closer than something like Serum. And of course, there's other, you know, what is it? Vital is kind of like a Serum clone that's free. So I just always want you guys to never feel like just because this channel does talk a lot about hardware and vintage hardware, which is sometimes a lot more expensive than modern hardware, that somehow I think you need that to make awesome music. No, you don't. If you have it, you're going to hear a difference. And it's very fast in the sense of you don't have to spend so much time. Like, I don't spend a lot of time EQing these sounds. Little filter here or there, cut out some of the low end, cut out some of the high end, whatever, usually gets you 95% of the way there using a vintage analog synth, just because they had to tune them so well back in the day. And they all kind of have a vibe, all of that type of thing. So anyways, just wanted to get on my soapbox for a second. So I appreciate you guys listening to me ramp there. Machine Storm says, questioning whether I want to dump money into the MWXT for a 30 voice EXP. Got my eye on the new supercritical Redshift 6. I don't think I understood a lot of that. So help me out with what we're talking about there. Dekarmic, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? Plugin Guru Unify, and most important, DSP 56300 Osiris, Vava, and Xenia, and Nodal, the Nord Lead 2 emulation. Yeah, there's so many good ones. Plugin Guru, incredible person. Just, again, one of those people who's had so much to do with synth history, especially with like the Wave Station behind me. Oberheim Expander ain't cheap. That is for sure. That is one of those, you know, legendary magical synths that I've always wanted to get my hands on, but they are expensive. They are in that kind of range that I would say is just shy of vanity synths. Like the CS70M behind me, that's a vanity synth. It's way too expensive for what it is. It's awesome, but it's too expensive for what it is. Expander, Prophet VS, arguably the Jupiter 6, those are synths that are expensive for what they are, but there also aren't necessarily a lot of synths that compete with them in terms of features. Maybe more the Expander and the Prophet VS. Jupiter 6, I've made the choice to just stick with the Chroma Polaris, which you could usually get for around half that. And the Polaris is kind of like the step up from this in terms of 2 VCO analog synth. I love the sound of the Chroma Polaris. You could get one for about $2,500 right now. They too have gone back up in price. So if you were going to buy a Polaris, I posted a bunch. Members of this channel know I actually post whenever I see a really good deal on Reverb, Guitar Center, eBay for a synthesizer that I myself am not going to buy. I will post it for the members of this channel to be able to like get little tips. Oh, that is so cool. That is super cool. I need to catch back up with Wave Sequencer and see if there's something else that him and I can do, some sort of video or something like that, because I didn't do a good enough job really showing off the power of his synth. I just don't know what the concept would be. But maybe I could do a stream like this, but using Hyperion. That's the name of it, right? Questioning myself. Let's add a Filterverse. So I'm going to cheat and just use my Softtube Console 1 to bring some of the low end out. That seems good. We need to make it a little wider. So, you know the trick. We're going to just use a sequencer and we're going to use flange. There's like, we could go crazy with it, like fractalize. We could go more ballsy if we wanted to. Let's hear how this sounds. That actually sounds really good. It's kind of, I want to hear it in solo real quick. Wow, it sounds really good, actually. Using the depth almost adds like a high passy type of thing. Dekarmic, I like console 1. Hands-on control is fine. I really need to mix a whole track on it. I haven't done that yet. It's really good for these like quick little adjustments. I honestly find it a little frustrating. I know I need to keep like working on setting it up perfectly for me, because it's one of those things where I don't have it 100% figured out how I like it, but it's powerful. I find the EQ section, I tend to use like a lot of subtle EQ, but like many bands because I use re-EQ. And so kind of being limited. You have two separate EQ sections. So like, I'll just show you real quick. So we have like EQ1 over here where we could do, you know, all sorts, like whatever kind of EQ we want to do, right? And then we also have a second EQ that's more of like a modern version. And that actually has more like 6 bands to play with. And that's fine, you know, like, it's just like, it's a bunch of steps, and kind of the point of hardware is to not have that many steps. And so it's not, I mean, let me say it this way. It's about as good as when you use just like a typical mixer. Like if you ever use like a live sound mixer, it's just got treble. It doesn't even have a frequency knob. It's just got treble. So this has, you know, treble, frequency, you know, you can play with it, Q, all of that. But yeah. Machine Storm says, I'm a little disappointed I splurged on Sound Toys bundle and Arturia FX collection, but I guess I don't get what is special about them. Yeah, the compressors are good, obviously. I use Sound Toys more than Arturia. I don't know why. You know, the Crystal Echoes, or the Crystallize or whatever, the emulation of the Crystal Echoes preset of the H3000, that's a very iconic sound used by bands like Skinny Puppy and stuff like that. And they do a lot. And Decapitator, of course, very unique sounding distortion plugin. I actually bought Soothe, but I haven't used it yet because I haven't really had a purpose for it. So yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm going for like an analog JP8000 type of sound. I really like Fractalizer with the little depth because it takes it into this like really clear type of chorusing, whereas chorusing tends to cancel out the high end. pinch do? Kind of like it's just neutral. Okay. That sounds pretty good. Let's see if we want to add some distortion with the evil filter. Let's just go ahead and see how that sounds there. Machine Storm asks, does any of the Eventide plugins, I believe they have an H3000, so it's going to do the Crystal Echoes thing too. Sound Toys were developers for Eventide, so they actually worked on the hardware H3000 and then went on to start Sound Toys. So, you know, you're going to get that sound from Eventide, but honestly, I think Sound Toys might have the edge there, but it depends on what you're looking for, because for me, Sound Toys reverbs are not like anything that I'm going to recommend. I'm sure they're fine, but just for my personal taste, I'd rather even use Filterverse, which isn't even like a dedicated reverb plugin. It's really good. On the other hand, Eventide's Black Hole is a standard for a reason. So if there's like a bundle where you can get their, you know, Crystal Echoes thing and Black Hole, that might be worth it. So does that make sense? You know, it depends on what I would say. Pick the bundle, not necessarily one plugin over the other. I don't think it matters too much. Let's get some distortion in here. Fizz really kills it. Oh, it's probably because of that. Never mind. Sorry, spit? Howl? That's very bees in a can. Glug. Fat. It's very kind of scooped warp. I actually like warp just because it's kind of like pushing that mid-range a bit. Let's add tempong. I mean, the process is pretty easy, right? Adding a little bit of EQ and compression to that to really make it huge. It is very, very huge. Just kind of tailoring that in. 3K is a really good frequency range there. Bees in a can, I've heard that to describe the Boss Metal Zone, famously bad sounding distortion pedal that was kind of the successor to the HM2. HM2, very famous Swedish death metal, sort of also very aggressive, but in a good way. And then the Metal Zone is just like people hate that, and so I can't take credit for that. I think I'll try to find the video and text it to you, Dub. There's a pretty good video on that. It's guitarist humor, but it might apply. It's a good descriptor for sure. So let's see what we got here. I'm gonna actually just increase the side chaining a bit here. Split these off over here and drag them here. Do one of these. Sounds very, very good, right? What else do we have in here? So I could use this filter here, and we could do a little build, right? So let me show you the way to do this. I'm going to use a meta knob, and I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to just solo it real quick to pick the frequency. So we've created this little meta knob, right? It's all the way down, it's like this. Right, and then if I go into the automation in my DAW, Filterverse is so full of parameters. I mean, it just like keeps going, but it's actually laid out kind of cool. So one thing I can do is actually just go to meta here, and it's going to pull up all my meta knob stuff. And because we have it on the second slot, I can actually just go ahead and you'll notice this little blue dot here. That's Reaper letting me know it's the last thing I touched. But because it's in the second slot, M2, right, meta knob, hit that. And now I should be able to control it from in the DAW. There we go. So now we can get into actually sequencing this bad boy. So let's make sure everything is available to be turned into stuff. And I'm going to just select all of my tracks here just to make sure that I can mess with them, because I want to build this up. So I'm going to bring this down here. So we have this little vibe here. And I'm going to copy everything we've got over one for now. And we're going to build a build. So we'll just bring this in, and we're going to bring everything out except for the kick drum for a bit, I think. Maybe we'll leave that cool ethnic, and we'll bring the bass out here. One trick I like to do here with automation, let me show you what I'm doing. I'm going to actually bring this down to like maybe 80% right here. So it does a little jump right at the end. So we don't go all the way to wide open. We let it open up even a little bit more in a sharp way right at the drop. And now that kick drum is pretty crazy. So what I could do is just go into, let's see. Oh, I don't even have it on here. Let me see what I have on the kick drum. Ah, perfect. So just re-EQ. And I'm going to just set this to high pass and bandwidth. So I'm going to leave it all the way down. So it's not really doing anything down here at, 21 Hertz. But what we can do is we can just automate that frequency too. So that's frequency of the high pass. And we will just bring that up right here. Just like that. And then when we get to the chorus, we'll bring it down. So should be sample accurate automation. Yep. So we're good to go. We could also just, it's a little in the face, so I'm going to just automate the trim volume as well. As simple as bringing this down maybe a bit. Yeah, 3 decibels seems fine. And then we're going to bring it right back up. Now I want it to build a little faster, so I'm going to press Alt and sort of, I can draw in a little bit more of an exponential thing. Now, here, I want to bring in some stuff so we get some groove going. Ah, I fucked that up. There we are. And the snare's a little much. Yes, sir. Welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? Yeah, it's definitely giving like rooftop sunset vibes. Now this is where we need like a snare roll, right? But yeah, by the way, Ed, are you all good? Is everybody safe in California? I know we got a lot of our friends out there. I'm very, no MC. You know, it's been such a terrible thing what's happened in California. And all you can hope is that we'll get better, you know, with this type of thing. I don't want to talk politics here. I appreciate spaces on the internet where you can get away from politics. But let's just say, let's get better, so that this type of thing doesn't happen to people. Let's come together in some sort of way. And I know a lot of people have been donating and supporting. That's a very awesome thing to do right now. And so if you got a little extra, that's a great thing. Hopefully this was of use to someone somewhere. I had a lot of fun this stream. I think that this was a really kind of fun exercise into seeing what could be done with a vintage synth, you know, one vintage synthesizer. And the Prophet 600 really does cover a lot of sonic territory. Really good bang for your buck. I still have my gripes with the envelopes. The big thing is the envelopes, and even just something as simple as when you press the same note, if that envelope is already in motion, it doesn't reset. It seems so simple, and I know there's other synths that do that same thing, but for whatever reason with this synth, it really bothers me. I'm glad you guys are going to be able to hook up and hang out. Very excited for music to continue out there. I think we need it now more than ever. We need that energy, a little bit of positivity in the West Coast. So I'm very happy to hear that. Prophet 600, really incredible synth. Basically a Prophet 5 on a budget. You can buy it for about half the price of a modern Prophet 5 Rev 4. It's got some features the Prophet 5 Rev 4 doesn't have. Of course, the Prophet 5 Rev 4 is also going to have those SSM filters and CEM filters, whereas this only has the CEM filters. For what that's worth, I think CEM filters sound great. DJ Genki, thank you so much for the super thanks. That's awesome. I really appreciate it, man. It's people like you who make this channel possible. All of the members of this channel make this channel possible. I wouldn't be able to do it at this point without you guys, because the amount of work that goes into these streams has just gotten more and more over time, and I'm not complaining because it's awesome. I have the most fun. I think I'm having more fun this year than I did last year and the year before that. It's been so great. Such a wonderful synthesizer community. So, Industrial Reddit has a donation thing for the fires. That's awesome. I'm going to look that up and donate right after the stream. So, hopefully you found this inspiring. I want you guys to go out and make music. It doesn't have to be exactly how I did it, but I just wanted to show you how I would approach the process. You know, what's a way that I could create something that's interesting and a little different, not exactly the same thing you hear. You know, I didn't want to exactly copy. One of the things I don't love about Beatport culture is that it's like everybody just like rips off everybody else. And that's okay, but I also think it's important to kind of do your own thing. So like 50% take from your references and learn and try to emulate the people you look up to. That's a good thing because you know, we're still using kicks and claps and offbeat hi-hats, right? Like we're not really reinventing the wheel here, but just trying to kind of always add a little of your own flair on something. If you're going to borrow liberally from another artist, just make sure you add your touch to it. Don't use the exact same sound and the exact same melody or just slightly off. Like try to do your own thing. Yeah. So, oh yes, the donation sample. That's one seriously perverted bitch. I decided to turn it off just because like, this stream has become so sonically focused and it could be distracting for sure. I really appreciate it. Hypothesis. Dopey was difficult. This year was way better than the first time I did it. I trained a lot smarter and I ran a lot smarter too. Yeah, cookie cutter. That ain't scum. That ain't what I'm talking about. Scum's about finding your own path without looking down on anybody else. I don't have a Discord. I probably should get one. Aquatic Borealis has been pushing me to get one for a while. I should probably do it. I just, you know, there's a lot on the agenda and a lot that I'm very excited for you guys to see. I obviously always kind of have things in the works, but it takes a while for them to get to fruition. So it's going to be awesome. Oh, that's really cool. Autistic Einstein. Yeah, Take 5 is an awesome synth. Uncle Jerry, how's it going, man? Sorry, we're just at the end. I'm sorry you're sick. But this stream is here for you when you get back. K3, one of the ultimate sleeper synths, although the price has gone up. I don't feel obligated. I just think it would be... My thing is, the members section is great for me on YouTube. I wish YouTube would add... like in the community section, the ability for members to do things like post their own tracks and post their own stuff. I guess maybe I could do like members only, like post your synth jams every month or something like that. That would be kind of cool because I do have people will send me music. Obviously, like people, if they do any sort of live stuff like Dub Station Zero, then, you know, we'll talk about it usually here on the channel. So Machine Storms, I've never been on Beatport, but I'll never forget the 2007 Beatport girl. I don't know at all, even though I was DJing back then. Yeah. Oh, it's got amnesia. That kind of sucks. Title's great too. You know, I love music and I love electronic music, and I hope that doing streams like this, live streams, I do one every Wednesday night. So if you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe to the channel so you can see more of them. It does really help the channel out. But yeah, I just do this in the hopes that it'll inspire someone somewhere. For some of you old pros, maybe it just inspires you to try a different approach to something. And then for some of the beginners, maybe this was like, hopefully helpful. Like, oh wow, I could do it this way. It's not that hard either. It's one of my favorite things about a synth like the Prophet 600. It's got presets, but I never use them. I just put the synth on in manual mode and tweak and just go from one sound to the next without really like saving anything. So if I need to recall something, I'm fucked. I shouldn't do that, but It's what I do. Ooh, K3 prices are back down. All right, heard. Check mark. Here would be my question for you guys. And if you've watched this video all the way to the end in the future, what genre should I do with the K3? Obviously, I want to hear you guys live in the chat what your answer would be. What genre of music should I do with the Kawai K3? What genre of electronic music does the Kawai K3 best suit? Like, what's the vibe that the K3 should be used for? I went with Melodic Techno because, you know, the Prophet 600 is so bright. It's like basically perfect for trance or melodic house, that type of thing. It's not necessarily my favorite sound because it's the only vintage analog cold synth I've ever heard. People say that about other synthesizers and I don't hear it. Even the Akai AX60 can be very warm. Obviously, when you crank the resonance, it goes insane. So synthwave, POV, point of view. I don't know what POV is. I feel like I should, like it's some sort of really cool, like the cool kids know what POV music is. Hey, you know what, Uncle Jerry? We all fall into a funk sometimes. I have had a decade in a funk before. And all I can say is, first off, it's okay to have feelings. Go ahead and feel them. I'm not saying that's what's going on with you. Maybe it's just health stuff. And that sucks. Heal up, rest, get that nasty rest in. I really believe in getting a good night's sleep, you know? And we're always here for you when you come back. You know, that's the beautiful thing about YouTube is, of course, it's best when you can interact live, you know, in person with me and more importantly, the members of this channel, people who are in the chat, but the video will always be here for you. So if you can't make it, and I'm speaking to anybody, not just Uncle Jerry, but anybody who watches this channel, I appreciate you guys spending the time that you do in your busy life, taking your time out of your life to hang out with me and check out what I'm doing. I could never say thank you enough. So DNB, I've thought about it. Vapor Trap. Yo, I like the sound of that. Is that a real genre? I hope it's a real genre. It sounds great. Melodic tech can indeed be blended with many EDM genres. Yeah, and I've been sort of leaning into melodic techno with a couple of my other genre streams. So, yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, stress of life can really kill the muse too. It's for sure. Family stuff. Yeah, man. Listen, over here on this channel, it's all about love. It's all about cool synths, cool sounds, making music, getting fucked up, or getting fucking clean, whatever it is you need, you know? Vaporwave, synths, and vibe. Yeah, maybe I could do some sort of like thought formsy type stuff. Like maybe I can he'll do like 2000s DMB or something like that. Maybe I can do something in that neighborhood. Like vaporwave jungle would be super cool. Something in that neighborhood. I'll have to think about it. If anybody has some more ideas, please throw them in the comments because I do read every comment. I try to respond to as many as I can. Sometimes the volume of them gets the best of me and I'm not convinced YouTube shows me everything. Like sometimes when I check my notifications, I'll see something different than my comment section, you know? So Genki uses the K3 for ambient and vaporwave-ish stuff. I put it through a Maris. Yeah, Maris is going to do it. Dark ambient techno. Dark ambient techno sounds good. Yeah, it's a huge investment. The thing about vintage synths are if you buy them smart, you should, in theory, at least get your money back and maybe you'll even make money. So, for instance, I've sold about 10 synthesizers and I've made money. Not a lot of money, but like I've actually made money off of owning those synths. Whereas I think when you buy, you know, more modern stuff, it has a tendency to devalue pretty quickly. Of course, if you buy it like a year or more after it comes out. Maybe you buy it and it doesn't devalue much more. K3, K4 makes me think of Frontline Assembly strings. Right, they used a K4 on the Caustic Grip record for their strings. Chord memory for DMB. Yeah, that's true. I could... Does the K3 have chord memory? I could sample it. So like I could play the chords and then like chop it up in the DAW. Dark ambient. Okay, people are saying dark ambient. Maybe I'll do dark ambient techno. I like that idea. I love that brass patch, Absurd. That is my favorite. Number 13 is so good. So anyways, guys, I think that's a good place to call it for the night. Maybe we will do a dark ambient techno night coming up. So with that being said, I'm going to play out the track. Continue to be excellent, guys. Stay safe, and I will see you next week.